So good morning. So let's get started. This is our developer event, and it includes all our developer platforms and how to customize Zoho. So I'm going to give you a little background of what is this development platform and where is it all heading. So let's imagine a car. I mean, the Zoho cars used to be 50 years, 60 years ago, nothing adjustable. Just a bench seat, and you cannot adjust anything. Well, it'll work only if everyone is the same standard height, right? If everybody is the same standard height, it'll work. Or if you are willing to bend and perform various yoga postures to be able to drive the car, right? And you know, some of us have done that in little rental cars, where you push into the seat and you stretch yourself. And so that is the definition of simple that is actually simplistic. There's nothing in it where you don't get the features you want. You cannot do anything with it. And cars are only comfortable because the seats and mirrors adjust, and you do this, right? And so you typically in the lower end cars you manually configure all the controls. But if you have a little more advanced car, and most cars these days, you have the driver 1, driver 2 settings, right? You set your preferred position, preferred mirror location, all that, and it remembers it and then it adjusts that automatically. When you later pull up driver 1, driver 2. I actually only figured this out a couple of years ago that my car had it, right? A lot of us never even look at these features. And so the way this works is you are saving the configuration there. And it only works because the software is able to apply that configuration back, right? In effect, that seat has become a software addressable object, as they call it. There's some little piece of code that knows the setting and it's applying it later, pulling it up. That's a critical concept. Keep that in mind, this whole idea of software addressable object. Right? In this case, the seat position, the tilt, all of that has become something that's addressable by software. The car software in this case. Now this gives us a spectrum of configurability that we talk about. So you have a simplistic one where there's nothing, it's just a bench seat, nothing you can adjust. Then you have a manually configurable where you just, every time you adjust it. And then we are at that third level, the software settable, where it remembers the setting and the software then you put driver 1 and then it does it itself, right? And you can imagine this spectrum, you can stretch it out, right? That's one where the driver sits in the car and it automatically adjusts the seat and even adjusts the mirror to what should be the optimum position for you, right? And is that possible? It is possible. I mean, if there is, these days cars come with all kinds of sensors. So you are really looking at the height of the driver, the limbs, the eye location, all of that, and you're adjusting it. They probably do fancy tricks you can do it to make it really comfortable, right? And it's possible today actually. It's not there because it's probably expensive to do. You may add $500 or something to the price that people may not want to pay for this, but this should be possible. It's not very hard. And the reason it's possible is you already made all of this software addressable in a way. And this smart car, it's important. This is another key concept to remember. This has no configuration or adjustments. You just sit in the seat and it adjusts itself, right? And in a sense, you've gone full circle. I started with the simplistic one where no adjustment is possible to the ultra sophisticated one where no adjustment is necessary. Right? You've gone that full circle. Both from the human driver perspective are the same. No adjustment is needed, but one automatically does everything for you. Of course, the self-driving car is almost here. But with the self-driving car, we are going to have a lot of self things there. With the seats, the climate that adjusts itself, all of that. Your preferred climate, all of those things. So you are going to have that full spectrum where There's almost no control because it is able to sense everything automatically. And the key to all that is that every object became software addressable here. That's a key idea. Everything in the car, the location of the steering column, the tilt, the seat, the mirrors, everything became, and the climate settings, all of them became software addressable, and then the software is manipulating them. And the software, the more advanced software, is able to get smarter and smarter and figure these decisions by itself, rather than applying some saved settings. It's able to figure it out, what the settings ought to be, right, in a given situation. That's what really getting smarter, all that is. And this is the ultimate, we call it the programmable car nowadays. In fact, really Tesla is a software in car form, when you think about it. It's actually software that's in physical car form. Every subsystem is exposed as a software construct. Everything comes with an API that's addressable in software and manipulated by software. And this thing is spreading everywhere. This whole idea of Internet of Things, IoT, is really software addressable objects and everything. And so you have a piece of software where you can address that object, you can manipulate it, you can control it, you can apply settings to it. Initially, a programmer is intentionally applying some saved setting, just like in the driver 1, driver 2, where you set it and then the program is applying it after your command. But later on, you can teach it more smarts to come up with the settings that should be, right? And it is the programmability of a system that enables us to achieve the deep context. It's able to become smarter. It knows a lot about the people who are using the object, the context, all of that. What's the temperature now? What should be my temperature now? All of that. And just like in the car seat example, you are aiming for the purpose of making it all programmable and teaching the software more smarts is that you get to a kind of simplicity that is the ultimate sophistication. Right? It's not simplistic anymore. It's actually simple but highly sophisticated under the hood. Now let's come to business software. You can already see the analogy here, and let's talk about business software. So a lot of software makes us feel this way. You're squeezing into the software, right? A lot of software is where you are tailoring the business to fit the software. And that's, of course, that will work only if the business is all standard, right? Just like the humans are standard height, you don't need to be able to adjust anything. The business were all standard, only one type of business there is, or there's a standard template for a business. Actually people try. That's what a B school is, right? A business school is to try to offer a standard template for a business. But I'll submit to you that what is really interesting that makes a business successful, profitable, durable, all of that is there's something unique, something differentiated. Differentiated actually definitely means it is different in somehow. Not just different, but it's differentiated, valuable. So about their product or service offering. It has to be, otherwise it doesn't survive very long. Just a very standard business doing only standard things. The standard profit margin in a competitive market is zero. It goes to zero, so business won't survive. So now let's apply this whole spectrum of programmability, the simplistic to the configuration to more automated configuration, all of that, to the business software example. So in this spectrum, the simplistic software is one where what you see is all you get. That's the one where you have to stretch and bend your business to fit that software. That's the simplistic software. Then there is configurable, where there are, you maybe change the UI settings, you change some of the order and add some elements with increasing degree of configurability here. So you are adding more and more configurations to the software. At some point, as the configurability goes up in this, it becomes programmable. In fact, there is a strict definition of the term. When you go from configuration to programming, there's a line. And that's when you get this programmable software. And this notion, actually, this is what people scratch their head. What is programmable software? Isn't software already programmed? But the idea here is you are extending or adding things in ways that the original developer provided hooks for but did not themselves put in. So take examples of this programmable software. I mean, you have CRM, you have a lead, or you have a support ticket, and the ticket is now the ticket goes through as stages. I mean, it's not yet responded, but customer has not accepted. Finally, it comes to closed, all of that. There is a standard workflow built into the ticket, but suppose you want to intercept it and add your custom hooks into it. And in your business context, let's say a ticket evolves into a project. Sometimes what adds, and this could be an example where you get called. I mean, there is this happened to me, where I called for a small electrical problem. It became a big electrical project. What seemingly small problem, right? It happens. And so it would have been a ticket in somebody's system, but evolved into a project with an estimate, all of that. Not simply something you solve in a couple of hours and then bill on the spot, but something where you have to give an estimate and I have to approve all of that. So a ticket becomes a project. Not every ticket obviously will become a project, so that's not the standard workflow. But you have to be able to, if your business context demands it, you have to be able to intercept that ticket object, program that thing to become a project, which takes it to another type of software construct. Because the project has a deadline, a milestone, it's a longer duration. A different kind of tracking is required. This whole distinction of what is a ticket and what's a project, again, you can see that it depends very much on a business context. Right? There are ticket-oriented service businesses, and then there are project-oriented, longer duration. And there is a line where you cross into that. That's the programmable software idea. So where you take the ticket object from your software, and once it needs that project treatment, you convert it into project. And this kind of thing, you cannot build it into all of the software because it will become too complex. But you can, if you make the software programmable, you'll be able to do this. So intercept that object and then do this appropriate treatment. So that's the idea of programmable software. And the professional lingo is a developer platform. You expose the internal structures, in this case the ticket, the project, all those constructs as APIs or really software addressable constructs. But here's the interesting thing. When you are talking about the software addressable constructs, you want to expose all your constructions in your software as programmer addressable, that is extensible later. So you should be able to hook into the ticket and transform it programmatically. And interestingly, this is where the business software interesting thing comes. Those software constructs, a ticket or a project, they are modeling, or expense, for example. An expense is a construct an object in software, and that is doing something, modeling something in your real world business. There is a real world entity that this software represents. So when you are exposing that to be programmer extensible, you have made the business itself in a way programmer extensible. And this is actually a way of thinking that is more and more spreading in the world of business. This is what they call, by this phrase, software is eating the world. Software is truly eating the world because you are flipping that business constructions inside out and exposing them in software, extensible in software, and then feeding back into the business. And truly we have seen this in Zoho because we run on Zoho platform, and more we adopt. The software itself is driving the pace of business now. It's, in a way, the Zoho suite is eating Zoho Corp, you can say. Right? And that's the software is eating the world idea. So all your business constructs become software addressable constructs. And this is why it becomes very important for every business to be aware of the whole software tools that are powering that business. It's important. And make sure that your what is unique about your business is represented in your software apps that you do. And that is the primary aim of our tools here, to enable you to do that easily. And let's extend this idea of programmability further, just like I did. So you have exposed everything as a software construct. Now you can see the extension. The ultimate programmability is a system that learns and adjusts itself to the business. So initially you are programming you are adding manually the programs that extend those constructs, like a ticket or a project or an expense or whatever that's relevant to your particular business. And now you have a layer that is learning how those should be controlled and controlling them. That's AI ultimately. Artificial intelligence is really that layer where it's increasingly becoming sophisticated. Just as in the cars where they are becoming smarter. And this AI layer is sitting above the business software layer. It knows about all the software constructs. It knows about all the context of the business. And it's learning, adapting. And we are making progress, month after month, year after year now. It's actually rapid. We are in a pace now. All this is going to get more and more automated. And that's why it's important that you have excellent models about your software about your business in your software. So that's the Zoho developer platform, and I will talk about the components that make this up. First, you have our pre-packaged apps that are programmable themselves. The CRM, desk, Zoho Books, people, all of them. Over 40 apps. They are all programmable. That means that they expose their own internal guts as software extensible, as programmable. And then you have the tools to program with them. The Zoho Creator and Zoho Flow. You can create new apps, plug it into existing apps. And Flow is last year we launched it in the Zoholics developers, and that is our workflow modeling tool. So again, this is manipulating the software constructs in the other software, but in a visual way. So you don't have to learn much programming to do it, but it's still under the hood, it is actually controlling the software constructions. So, and finally, the Deluge language that knows the Zoho environment very well. All the Zoho objects are available through Deluge. And we are exposing more and more of the internal guts of Zoho through Deluge, so that you can now programmatically apply programming to the Zoho environment. So this Zoho platform is a collection of all of these. And then finally you have the important part, APIs and SDKs, for those situations where you need to create integration in a third party or with your own custom mobile apps that you want to handwrite in Swift or Java, any of those APIs and SDKs. So that's the last part. So the platform has the programmable apps like CRM, and then you have the Zoho Creator and Flow that are the programming tools themselves. In Flow case, it doesn't even require much programming. Even Creator, it takes you from all the form creation, all of that without programming required, but you can do extensive programming in it. Then Deluge, the programming language behind all this. Finally, the APIs and SDKs. Together, all of this is what we call the Zoho developer platform. With all of this platform power, what we can do today, this first thing is we are really very focused on this idea, deeply contextual apps. I'll elaborate on this a little bit shortly. And deeply collaborative, because more and more of the value of a business is when people work together. And every aspect, including this event, there is lots of people who work together to make this happen. And no one person is an expert in all of the things that constitute this one event. There's multiple people who bring in different talents to make this event happen, and that's collaboration. And we provide the tools to enable all of that. And we make those tools themselves programmable so that you can apply your own custom extensions on it. Deeply connected, this is important. I mentioned how Deluge knows about all of the Zoho apps, all the Zoho constructions. So it knows about CRM, it knows about books, it knows about projects, so you can connect them together. Create apps that take constructions from each and extend them. Real time, and this is actually important, I'll come to this shortly, and of course programmable, I mentioned this is very important. And this is what the true cloud app today is. True cloud running your business. That's why we call this the operating system for business. And that operating system consists of all of those elements. And here, this Zoho developer platform is the way that you program that operating system. Now let's talk about the deep context that I promised. So software now knows all about your business. That's the idea of deep context. If you're running 10 Zoho apps, there's a lot of information about your business now these apps know. Business software that doesn't track anything about the business is useless software, right? It has to know everything about your business, really, in order to be able to add value. But I deliberately use this word tracking because, GDPR, that's the topical thing nowadays. Privacy legislation is coming to a lot of US states as well. There is a referendum, I think, registered in California on privacy, similar to GDPR in Europe. And this seemingly, software has to know a lot about you in order to be helpful, but then there's privacy angle. How does it shift? Let's first look at our smartphone. The whole idea of being smart is that it knows so much about us, really. I mean, it has all our contacts, it has all our call logs, it has all our chat logs. It knows everything about us, actually. In fact, the phones actually know all our secrets. Really, when you think about it. We already have a device in our pocket that pretty much knows from GPS where you've been, where you're heading, all of that. Everything. Now. And we need to be able to trust the software, which really means trust the developers who wrote the software, in this case. Which, depending on, this is why I say business models matter. Business models matter. Because in order to be able to trust the developers who wrote the software, you need to know how do they make their money. Right? That's critical. That's an important question now. In this whole privacy era, this is the important question. In other words, privacy is not about software not knowing anything about you, because that ship has sailed, and we only get productivity of the modern economy in business by knowing all about that business in the software, modeling everything in the business. So it's only about what's the business model behind that software, and that matters. And business models that don't start with privacy as the default and only setting. And I use this word deliberately because a lot of companies treat that as a programmable option. Their setting for privacy is variable, depends, right? We cannot have that. If a software is going to know all about you, it has to have a guaranteed privacy setting, only one setting, which is, they won't do anything other than what you instructed to do for your business. And this is going to be a major issue in software. This is going to be a defining issue in software in the next 10 years because this whole consumer internet is about essentially violating privacy. There is no business model in the consumer internet without violating privacy. No matter what they say, actually, no matter what they say. Okay? No matter what the vendors assure us, the consumer internet business model increasingly is how do they know all about you and sell you stuff or figure out how to. And I've heard horror stories by people within some of these companies who, what pharma companies know about Facebook posts and the like. Right? So this is the stuff this is why there is so much concern about this. All this is blowing up. But clearly that there has to be a line. And in the business software realm, because the business software knows a lot about the business, a lot about the people, a lot about all the interactions, collaboration, all of that. The only privacy setting that's acceptable is the default setting has to be maximal privacy. And for that, the business model has to be tuned to that. And the second thing about deep context business software is it needs to be durable. In the early days of the cloud, there was a lot of disposable cloud apps. We used it tactically. But more and more and more, these are becoming the lifeblood of your business. In fact, we have seen that evolution in the last 12 years of Zoho, that we've been around, that more and more of our customers, Zoho runs their business. That's why we call it the operating system for business. For that, the software needs to be durable because you've taught the software a lot of your context. The software has learned a lot about your context. And it's really hard to rip and replace, right? Not only the expense, but all the, in a sense, a crucial knowledge capital is lost if you have to throw away the software. And so durable business software needs a durable company. And that's something that we have built a business model around with a durable culture and strategy. You need that. Let's look at Zoho Corp. We've been around 22 years now. It's private, profitable. We've never taken any external money. We have never taken any debt. 5,000 employees. And Zoho Creator itself, the platform, developer platform, is 12 years old and it's in the 5th major release. And here's the interesting part. Creator 5 we just launched just a couple of months ago. Now the platform is richer and deeper than ever. In the 12 years, now it's in the 5th major cycle. And very durable. The apps written before the iPhone arrived run well on the iPhone 10. So we have kept the platform current enough to be able to support the latest devices, latest browsers, all of that. That's important for you because all of those keep changing in your business context. And we need to be on top of that. And for that, we need a durable strategy, and we do. So I talked about the deep context, and I talked about connected, collaborative, real time. I'm going to show you what's possible when you think this way. When you are connected means that the software knows about all the data around, all the context. And when you have the collaboration, that you know about all the people and their interrelationships, it is possible to build software where there's no interface at all. There is sophisticated functionality, but the software seems to just disappear into the background. And that's really what I'm going to show. This is the click chat-based apps. We call them bots in chat terminology, bots. But these are really apps that are bringing in information and allowing you to perform work on other applications through simply the chat interface. I'll just show you a quick video on it. You get an idea of how that works. So this chat bot is in the Click Chat platform, and it's taking data from CRM, and it's also adding things to CRM. So it added a notes, all of that. You could call, and you get notifications when there's a deal close, all of that. So the sales rep is in the chat. They never leave chat, but they're getting work done on the CRM. The CRM knows about all that. Now the CRM can keep track of deal flow, the notes, all of that. And if you saw the video, there's also third-party integrations there. You could have added the note to a Trello system, for example, outside project management system, all of that. So all that is possible by this bot, which is really a chat app. And this bot app is really powered by Deluge, the same language that powers all of the rest of Zoho. So if you learn how to develop a custom function in CRM or a creator app, you know how to develop a clickbot. Except that in this case, the user interface seems trivial, but it's not really trivial at all because it's powered by all the sophisticated backend. And we are doing more and more with this. In fact, we have actually an expense app, expense bot launched just last week, which allows you to record your expenses in Zoho Expense and get it approved, all of that from chat, without ever visiting Zoho Expense itself. Zoho Expense is in the back end. You are accessing it through a bot. So we are doing more and more of these bots to enable this contextual easy access. The power here is it already knows you, you are in chat, it knows who your collaborators are, all of that, who's your lead, all of that information. So it just exploits that to give you sophisticated access that is simplicity itself. And this is going to be an important trend, these bots, because there is also a lot of AI going into these. These bots increasingly understand natural language better, so you can query them just as you would ask, post a question. And that Zia voice is being hooked into this, so you can control them through voice-based commands. So a lot happening on the bot front, all powered by the same underlying infrastructure as the rest of Zoho, the Deluge language. And I'll just give you some numbers. We actually run all of Zoho on Zoho. And of course, we use all our apps. And we also do custom apps, and you get these numbers. So there are 25 mission-critical custom apps, including the app that manages our data center planning. That means the app that manages the infrastructure planning that drives all these presentations, all of that, because that's where it's running, the data center. And that's managed by an app built on Zoho Creator. And interestingly, there are 24,000 custom apps in our business. We have 5,000 employees. But a lot of one-time apps, one-time use. I myself have created 3 or 4 of them, one-time use. What's an example of those? We actually opened a new rural development center. I wanted to poll employees to find out who is interested in moving and what are their special requirements. So I wrote a little app, just one form, few fields, simple rules I set. And then I posted it in our internal Zoho Connect. And about 250 employees out of, at that time, maybe 3,000 or 4,000 employees were there, registered on it and gave some information like, well, I have, what about my spouse, or what about school for my kids, all those kinds of questions. That's the information I wanted. I just launched this app and internally, and I got the information. That was only one-time use. I have the report, and I never touched the app again. That's a one-time use app. And I mean, that sounds a little excessive, right? You have one-time use apps, but that app took me like 15 minutes. It's convenient because I have the data in a structured form, and everything is in the cloud. I posted a link and people filled in them, and nobody had to do anything. I mean, they just gave the information. So that's what happens when apps become so easy to develop. That's the whole power of that Zoho developer platform. We have made it so easy. In our business context now, we have 24,000 apps have been developed, and 25 of them are mission critical. That means they run every day. And without them, the business will not run. Data centers won't get provisioned, and we won't know the capacity planning, we won't know budgeting, all of those things. All of those run on this. And the reason is very simple, right? Take our data center. They are essentially unique. I mean, every data center is unique. Every one of the major data center vendors, they do their own stuff. And we have to have unique software to power it. You cannot buy this off the shelf from somewhere. Well, Zoho Creator comes to our assistance here. We developed it and we are running it, and we keep enhancing it as we add more requirements. Now we have across geographies, we have 4 continents where we have data centers now, and we are increasing it. So with that, I'm going to finish my presentation, and thank you. Thank you very much.